Here's how to destroy an online reputation. And before, our loyal subscribers, our clients, the people who watch us say, Nader, what is wrong with you? Why are you releasing such negative information? This is for informational purposes only. I want you to understand the psychology that goes into somebody who would try to destroy your reputation. Because we have people who call all the time. They say, Nader, I don't know who this is, a disgruntled employee, whether it's a competitive business, whether people are just after me because I'm too successful. Somebody is just making things up, creating these fake pages about my name, and I don't know how to remove them. I don't even know where the content is coming from. So I want to lay out all the different ways that somebody doing black hat SEO or doing, just maliciously trying to ruin your reputation, what they could do, all the different paths, so you can understand the psychology behind why they're doing it and also how to beat it. So let me explain it to you very well. The biggest risk you could ever have is if there is no content about your name online. This is the riskiest thing, because with no content, anybody who publishes something about you is going to be able to rank it. So the first thing you should do to have some insulation, some protection, some insurance is to actually create positive content about yourself, publish it. We're talking websites, social media, news stories if you can, press releases, all these things help. But let's say, okay, somebody from scratch just decides, hey, I want to destroy someone's reputation. What is the psychology that would go behind that, and how can you identify it? Well, the goal that they have is to publish the minimal amount of content. So they don't have to sit there all day ruining your reputation. Minimal amount of content, and the most damaging thing they can find. So what they're going to usually do is they're going to use your name and a negative keyword. So they're going to say your name and scammer, or your name and fraud, or your name and loser. They're going to put something negative, some connotation, and put it in what we call the H1 tag, the title of that article. They're usually going to go for low-hanging fruit. So they're going to publish a negative Facebook page. They're going to publish a negative Reddit page. I've seen people go through the efforts, anonymous people go through the efforts of creating websites, hit websites about people, and we can't find the domain provider because it's all private. So these are a few different ways, because websites, once they rank, kind of stick there. We also know that Facebook pages, if there's no socials for your name, it'll stick there, especially if it's active, and so on and so on. Sometimes tweets, if they get a lot of engagement, will hit the first page as well. Sometimes news stories. So these are just the very general ways of, okay, low-hanging fruit. I am using a high domain authority website like Reddit, high domain like Facebook, high domain on one of these social platforms, or I'm gonna go and just create a website with this person's name in it, because it's gonna look hyper relevant, and although it doesn't have a lot of search value, it doesn't have a lot of link juice, it's still going to rank. So this is how people think. Now, there is one step more powerful that I think even people doing like guerrilla negative black hat marketing do not understand and don't get. If I were to look at it methodically, if I were to strategize on, okay, I wanted to take somebody's reputation down, what would I do? It would be simple. I would actually find something negative about that person that is 100% true. As a journalist, with my experience, I would verify that it's true. So I would find some sort of irrefutable proof, okay? And then I would write a properly sourced article about it, and I would guest post it. So I would have somebody actually post this article as a real, factual, and valid source, okay? So now it's living on the web in a news story. We all know those are bad. The next thing I would do is I would actually go and I would have a press release done about that event. So I would say sources confirmed with this verification that this person did this bad thing, and I would launch a press release. The reason why that would work so well is press releases will immediately hit the first page of Google or the news carousel, which means no matter how powerful that person is, if they're not in the news every 5 minutes, literally like the president, and even if it's the president, if you spend enough money on these press releases, I'm sure you could rank it. We source that, we do the press release, and press releases, here's the beauty of it, they syndicate to over 500 platforms, all at the same time. Okay, so if I were to have one negative story, that's not even the worst of it. I create that secondary press release, I link to that article, and I send that press release live in as many regions as I want. I can choose country, I can even choose locally, the city, the municipality, and then I can have instantly published on Fox 40, Market Watch, Globe and Mail, and even though it's not a journalistic piece because it's a guest post, it's linking that first post to get past the verification threshold, therefore the press wire doesn't reject it. So I might need 2 or 3 sources, but then it's published. Once it's published, it syndicates, and I can bank off those sources to create more sources, to create more sources. Eventually, the news will cross-report on those stories, which get me legitimate citations. When I have those citations, I can then go and create profiles for that individual or that company. And this is why I'm saying this is informational purposes only, right? And it's really powerful what I'm teaching you. Probably information that has never been released on the internet before. But it's important that you know and that you understand and you know how dark this industry can get. So somebody takes that content. They now have a press release, it's ranking on the first page. They have articles, it's ranking there. News is cross-promoting. Now I can etch this in history forever by creating a Wikipedia page to link to those citations. This person is now newsworthy because they've done something bad enough. I've carried them through the notability threshold, so I have to make them newsworthy enough, significant, interesting, and new enough to publish the Wikipedia. If that doesn't work, I can use bios on Crunchbase or IMDb or launch other negative websites with FAQ schema, which means it's basically a sort of code that I put into the web page that says, hey, this is a frequently asked question page about this individual. So when you Google this person, you have a negative story coming in the sidebar, you have it all on page 1, and you've essentially taken over the whole first page of Google, okay? So you have to be a bit of a visionary here. And the reason why I want to explain more about, disinformation. Nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of really interesting things happen in the news before people get taken out of the public image, before something really bad happens or a scandal erupts. I notice these news stories going up in a very specific fashion with the same language, all linking to each other and carried through the notability threshold in the exact same fashion. It's almost formulaic. And so I'm really interested in what people do to, ruin other people's reputations, why it happens, and kind of the greater forces at play here. So I want you to know that this is what people can do. This is the psychology behind it. And we're looking at building open source intelligence tools and software as a service that can actually in real time use AI to scan the web for not only sentiment, but where these stories come from which journalists, from which timestamps, and then on social networks, which journalists are connected with which ones, when did they publish a story, when did they use the same, when did they have a social post that reference the same thing, so we can draw connections and actually understand how misinformation happens on a geopolitical scale. So this is kind of the greater vision for Nadernejad Media Incorporated. It's the reason why we're traveling. It's the reason why I want to bring you different videos. We've done 180 videos on this channel. I want to expand the knowledge that's out there, and I hope this video was eye-opening for you. I'm gonna go make some coffee now. Thanks for watching.